Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Self-Esteem Workshop. My name is Tricia Priest, and I am the founder of the Zen Life Institute and also a certified holistic health and wellness coach. I have been training for several years now, and what I've realized is I wanted to take everything that I have learned, all my training, all my knowledge, and I wanted to just to create this little webinar regarding self-esteem, because I think that self-esteem is probably one of the most important things that affects every aspect of our lives. So my mission is to heal one soul at a time, and I started with mine. I would never come out here and talk about self-esteem or self-worth if I did not do the work myself first. So I hope that this coaching session empowers people to feel a little bit more empowered, know their worth, get to know me. I know you don't know me yet, but this is my very first webinar, so I just wanted to come out here and introduce myself, and let's talk a little bit about self-esteem. So if you can, grab a pen and paper, and if you're able to jot down some notes, and if any of these ideas stick, my hope is that you can see some changes in yourself and share it with some loved ones. So we're going to go over some 3 powerful steps that I created. Now, of course, I did write an entire book that you're going to get for free once you contact me. It's called The Self-Esteem Makeover, Self-Esteem Awareness from the Inside Out. But I just took a few points out of the book, and I want to discuss that with you today. So the 3 powerful steps to improve self-esteem workshop. Now, it is my opinion that it is impossible to have self-esteem without knowing your self-worth. I believe that self-esteem is built upon the foundation of your self-worth. Now, self-esteem is what we think, feel, and believe about ourselves. So depending on how you feel in a particular day, your self-esteem can either go up or down throughout your life, even throughout your day, based on the thoughts, feelings you're having. So for example, maybe you've lost some weight, or you got that job that you really wanted, and all of a sudden you're feeling good and your self-esteem goes up. You're feeling on top of the world. But let's say you get fired, or you're going through a divorce. Maybe you even got dumped. Or how about the way the media portrays what's acceptable and what's not, and how you should look and how you shouldn't look? What do you think happens to your self-esteem then? So that's why I say to you that self-esteem is built on your self-worth. And we're going to go a little bit over what do I mean by self-worth. So number 1 step is, now some of these words may seem a little foreign to you, and that's why I really want you to grab the book, because I do go a little bit more in depth than that. But self-esteem being built on the foundation of self-worth, there are several steps you can take to build up that self-worth. And I'm going to start off with emotional intimacy. Emotional intimacy, what is that? Okay, so it's the ability to allow yourself to be emotionally intimate with yourself. It's the ability to be emotionally intimate with others. It also means being comfortable receiving intimacy from others. There's a lot of us that cannot be real, that don't know how to have that emotional intimacy. And what I'm asking of you is to get to know yourself. This is all about you-ology. I don't want you to be afraid. to look within. And when you do this, I want you to do it without any judgment of yourself and, of course, of others, and of any of your past behaviors. Because intimacy is going to allow you to feel emotionally close with yourself without having to worry about fear of being harmed or even rejected. And that's a big one. You know, a lot of times we don't want to get close to someone because we're afraid to be rejected. We're afraid of what they're going to think. And what I'm asking you to do is start with yourself. Stop judging yourself. You know, we're going to get into the unconditional love and acceptance next, but emotional intimacy is step number 1. So the better you know yourself, the more comfortable you can feel around others. And like I said earlier, it's the ability to take a good deep look within, even if in the past you've had less than perfect behavior. This isn't about living in the past. This is about right now. This is what this workshop's about. This is about feeling better now. So the intimacy is going to allow you to feel emotionally connected without the fear of being harmed and rejected. I've said that already, so I'm going to reiterate that again. This is the you-ology. This is about you. I want you to look within without any judgment on yourself. I want you to, it doesn't even matter what has happened in the past. Starting right now, just look within, no judgment about any past pains or hurts. All right, let's move on to step number 2. Unconditionally loving yourself and accepting yourself and others. Now, I didn't put that on here, but I want to stress that I want you to unconditionally love yourself and accept yourself just the way you are and others. I want you to just stop the criticism right now. Because before you can love yourself unconditionally, you have to, there's a process. You want to distinguish yourself between your ego and your spirit. And a lot of us get wrapped up in our ego minds. I know I haven't went over what the ego mind is, but I'm going to go through that in the book, and we're going to touch on that a little bit in this workshop. So when you unconditionally love and accept yourself and others, it's another way to help you feel just safe and secure in the world. What happens is when you identify yourself with your ego, and your ego is the identities that we create in order to, like a mother, daughter, father, son, rich, poor, fat, ugly. It's our identities. So what I'm trying to ask you to do is distinguish yourself. Even though you are all three, mind, body, spirit, you have to distinguish yourself from your ego and lead your life through spirit. Put your ego in the back seat, and when you can put your ego in the back seat and let the spirit drive you, you're able to then unconditionally love yourself. Because the ego mind it likes to blame. It likes to judge everything and everyone. And once you realize that you are a child of God, you can start to see things, all things, including you. That's part of a bigger picture. It's part of a bigger plan. All of us, every single one of us, have a deep desire to want and to give unconditional love and to be accepted for just the way we are. When you unconditionally love yourself and others, it's not that you're condoning or excusing or even rationalizing. That word rationalize is interesting. Rational lies. So you're not condoning, excusing, or rationalizing anyone else's behavior. But you're going to go ahead and love and accept yourself and them regardless. So we're going to go ahead and move on to step number 3. I hope that you understand. There's a quote that that Gandhi wrote once. He said, "Hate the sinner, love the sin." I'm sorry, hate the sin, love the sinner. It would be awful was the other way around, but hate the sin and love the sinner. So unconditional love just means that you are going to, like I said before, your spirit versus your ego. When you identify yourself with your ego, what happens is when you find fault in other people and judge everyone and everything, your ego does that. Your ego judges everyone and everything. And as you begin to live your life through your spirit, know that you're part of something bigger than you and that you are ready. You're perfect just the way you are. I want you to connect with the divine that lies within. All right, so let's move on to step number 3, creating and protecting your boundaries. What does that even mean? So one of the most important parts of developing good and healthy self-esteem is having boundaries and being able to communicate. Well, communicating your feelings is something else, but is protecting your boundary. And what a healthy boundary does is it promotes integrity. It also helps you to feel safe in the world. Now, I have broke it down to 2 types of boundaries. Now, there are also boundary violations, but we'll get into that in a second. So there are 2 types of boundaries. There are the physical boundaries. That is that invisible like a 3-foot fence around us. It's invisible, of course. We don't like anyone to get like too close. Like you're in my space. So that's a physical boundary. And then there's the emotional boundary, and both can be violated, and both can make you feel uncomfortable, and both can make you feel threatened. So a boundary violation would consist of, first of all, there's the violation of intrusion. And that happens when a person, and it can go either way, okay? It happens when a person is verbally, emotionally, sexually, or physically abused. Now that is that is violating your physical and emotional boundary. And it can go both ways. If you are the abuser or if you are being abused, either verbally, emotionally, sexually, or physically. And that doesn't mean it's happening today, but that could have happened when you were a child. But what happened to you when you were a child carries over to today. It affects every decision that you've made today in your life. It affects your self-worth. And that is really what this whole webinar is about, is self-worth. And I really, really want to help you, because what I believe, like I said earlier, is self-esteem is kind of the illusion, because it goes up and down on a daily basis. But if I can help you know your self-worth, that is really my goal here in this workshop. That you are already enough, that you are already loved. And these tools that I'm providing for you is going to help you, even though you haven't done the work yet. And sometimes it takes a couple lifetimes to go back and reparent and make that child, the younger version of yourself, to feel safe and secure in the world. And can I help you with that? Absolutely. But what I'm doing here today is giving you it's a lot, I realize that, but some helpful tips to help you live in the world today. And we can work on everything else, but this is what's going to help you today. So the emotional intimacy, the unconditional love and acceptance, and protecting your boundaries. So let's just go back to a minute for the boundary violations. So we talked about the violation of intrusion. Also, it's important, use the word no, because it's a form of healthy boundaries. As a child, you didn't always have the opportunity, or you couldn't say no, but now you're an adult. You can use your adult powers, and I don't even care if you have to go get a cape on or do a visual of that. I want you to start using your adult powers. You have the abilities to say no. You can leave a bad situation if you need to. You can even call the police. Whatever it takes, use your adult powers. You're no longer that child. Okay, let's go. Another violation, and this is a big one. It's emotional distance, which is very harmful. It's harmful when you were a child, and it's also harmful if you have children. So what do I mean by emotional distance? Well, that occurs when you're in a relationship and the intimacy is less than what is appropriate for that relationship. So if you're married, or even if you're not married, if you're in a relationship with someone and there isn't that intimacy, if there isn't that affection, the hugging, everyone wants a hug, everyone wants to be loved. And especially if you have a child, the child needs to see that. They have a right to see that from their caregivers. Also, every child has a right to be hugged and loved and have affection. You have that right. You had that right as a child, and you have that right today. And when you don't do that and we don't show that, it's not only harmful to you, it's harmful to them as well. We all want the same thing. We all want to be unconditionally loved and accepted for who we are. So please, start today. If you're not getting in your relationship, but if you have a child, make sure you're giving them that affection and those hugs and those kisses, because they need that. It helps a child to feel safe and secure, knowing that they're loved. And that's what we all want. We want our children to feel safe and secure. Now, we may have to go back and reparent ourselves, but that's okay. We can do that. But right now, you have the power to help your child if you have one. So another really, it's also important to validate your feelings. Now, I have a whole training on this. As we get older, in life, and we get caught up in the dramas of life, what happens is we start to suppress our feelings, and we um, don't feel. It's kind of weird. And in our society, a lot of people are deemed weak if they show, you know, feelings. Actually, the opposite is true, because I believe that your feelings are intuitive messages from your spirit, and you have to be able to feel those. That is your inner guidance. It helps you steer yourself through life. So if something is bothering you, it's important not to deny or suppress or minimize those feelings. You really got to allow that to surface, because if you don't allow that anger to surface, it will come out in another form. It could come out as resentment. Now, remember, I don't want you to even judge your feelings, because this is really about just loving, not being judgmental. So your feelings aren't right, wrong. They're not good or bad. So get those words right out of your vocabulary regarding your feelings. It's just the way you feel, and what you feel is not wrong. It's not right. Like I said, feelings are normal, they're natural, they're necessary. Your feelings are body sensations. It's not something you're thinking about. It's something that it is what you feel in your body. Have you ever been nervous or afraid? Think about that for 1 second. Where do you feel that in your body? Do your palms get sweaty? Do you feel it in your stomach? Or when you have anxiety, do you feel it in your head? Or maybe your forehead is sweating? Do you feel hot? Feelings are not something you think about. They're body sensations. They are intuitive messages from your heart, from your spirit. When you can allow yourself to feel, you really are tuning in to a higher power. You're tuning into your divine that will never misguide you. It is always going to lead you to your higher self. Now, higher self, I say higher self, and I believe that the ego is the lower self. So when we get caught up in the ego, like I'm bringing that up again, but the dramas of life, of who we are and what we have and what we should do and shouldn't do, that is the ego. What I'm asking you to do is to connect, and this is one way to distinguish your ego mind from your spirit, is really tuning into how you feel. Even if you have not allowed yourself to feel in the past, break out that journal and start journaling it. Write it out. This is, just don't think about it, just freehand. Start writing out what you're feeling. And observe that. It's interesting to see once we get all of that out of our head and on and out, we actually even feel better. But get everything out of your head. Allow yourself to feel. Don't think, just allow your body to feel. Now, we're coming to the end of the webinar. It is just a short one. I wasn't able to go over with you about self-sabotaging. You know, there's so much more I can go through with you about the self-parenting aspect. Um, there's just so much more, and that's why I really want you to get your free copy of my ebook, The Self-Esteem Makeover. It's absolutely free. I had this this knowing. I mean, this was me listening to my feelings. This was me being guided by something else, that I needed to get this out. I just look around me and I just see so many people that don't know their value, their self-worth, that don't know that they're already enough, that don't know they're already loved. And there's so much potential that you have. I really would like to make, in my own little world, in my own little way, to make the world a better place. And I can't do this by myself. I cannot, but what I can do is try to provide some tools to help you know you're already enough. You're already loved, okay? You're already accepted. And if you'd like to go a little bit deeper with me, I'd love that. Reach out to me. But before that, just, grab that free copy of your book, Self-Esteem Makeover. And I want to end this webinar, give you a little bit of understanding. It's not here, but it will be in the book. A little bit of poem to help you understand the difference between the ego and the self. So it's a poem. The author is unknown, but it goes a little something like this. My ego thinks, my self feels. My ego mind thinks the world is against me. They are against me. You are against me. And even I am against me. My self feels, I am one. I am one with all people. I am one with you. I am one with the entire universe. My ego thinks, I'm not enough. My self feels, I am all there is. I am love. My ego thinks, it's all your fault. And myself feels, the other person is merely a reflection of my own consciousness. My ego mind thinks, you push my buttons, so I'll avoid you. Myself feels, Thank you, ego, for you are a doorway to what I need to heal. My ego thinks I need to find my true love. My self feels I will find love when I look within. My ego mind thinks I'm all alone. I am separate. My self feels we are all one. My ego thinks everything is good, bad, or wrong. My self feels everything is perfect just the way it is, even when it doesn't feel good. So my ego thinks I'm a victim. My self feels I create my own reality to learn and grow. My ego mind is always think, think, think. My self is feel, feel, feel. My ego mind thinks I need to be right now. My self feels surrender to what is with emotional detachment. My ego mind thinks I'll never have enough. My self feels I created the heaven within my own consciousness. I'll be able to see you through the veil of illusion created by the earthly plane, and I will be able to recognize the heaven that lies within me. So until we meet again next time, my name is Trisha Marie Priest, and I want to just thank you for joining me. And if you found this workshop helpful, please share these 3 steps with your family, friends, coworkers, and even your children. And enjoy the free copy of your ebook. Thank you.